Hello, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Stealing from the Future. This is my third interview, and here tonight, I would say we are going live. My YouTube channel is going live, and I would say that uh, we have collaborated with a very distinguished research group from Italy called the X-Plan Group. And so, our guest tonight is a very distinguished guest himself. He, I would say, is the founder, one of the founders of the X-Plan Group. And in 2003, he was one of the founders of the X-Plan Group. He is an independent writer, researcher, and he's an entrepreneur himself. He has expertise in various disciplines. I would let you know which are those: exobiology, esotericism, ancient civilizations. Wow, what topics! Symbolism, amazing, isn't it? He in global trends. He lives and works across Europe, USA, and China. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Diego Antolini.
Hello, Shlomo.
Hello, Diego.
Good evening to
How
everyone.
are you? Good
I'm
evening.
very
Good
good.
evening.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
Diego. I was just talking to my viewers about the X-Plan Group. Such a distinguished and an amazing organization, amazing topics you all deal with. Really enlightened to have you here and launching my channel tonight. Thank you very much, Diego. Also, yeah, yeah.
the pleasure is mine, Shlomo.
So
I'm delighted to be here, and I've listened about your introduction. Very remarkable. Thank you so much, and thank you and Energy to Karma and all the Indian people for this opportunity. Really, we at the Explain Group really appreciate it.
thank you very much, Diego. So, Diego, we are really very much, excited to have a very, interesting conversation. We have some few questions about the X-Plan Group and few of the conspiracy theories that we deal with. So, do you have anything to say, Diego, before we start off with the questions, or I'll start off with the questions?
I think you can start with the questions, and I think we will have opportunity to talk and comment upon each other's opinion as we go along with the questions. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you very much. I'll start off. So here's the first question, Diego. What is the X-Plan Group all about?
Okay, thank you for this question. It gives me the possibility to introduce me and my research group. Okay, so in a few words, me and
Yep.
two of my other friends and fellow researchers founded the group in 2003. We were on our 20s, and I remember uh, for a couple of nights we were reading some of the work of David Icke and about the reptilian race and all the alleged ancient families that would dominate the world over the past millennia, and we were very interested about that topic. Myself, when I was a teenager, I also had some let's say anomalous experiences myself, so I was led to be interested into this type of topics. And eventually, one night, we decided to found a group whose scope was to understand and research what our reality really is that we live in. Like, if basically our biggest question was, what we see, is it really what is, or there is more behind it? So that was our quest. And this year 2020, our group grew to other members. We are quite selective, but we do open uh, to other researchers are welcome to join our group. We have a branch in China, and the main group is still in Italy. Over the past 15 years, we've been conducting research and investigation in different parts of the world. Just to name a few, we visited the Angkor Wat Temple in Cambodia. We are still researching in the ancient past of China. We were exposed to some investigation in the US, especially in the exobiology topic. And in Europe, we analyze and study the symbolism, the ancient symbolism of orders such as the Templars or the Freemasons, but also our interest spans to the Middle East and the ancient civilization of Mesopotamia and Egypt. As you know, when
Interesting.
this field of research is so big and so wide that once you go into something, there is a chain of event that leads to so many other threads. So it's not really that easy. And when you described my expertise in so many fields, it was a necessity. Well, I love studying, I love learning. I even to now I keep learning every day, every step of my life. But I was forced to understand more in comparative fields in order to read, to be able to read the signs and symbols that our ancient civilization left to us. And on the other
Oh,
side, on the modern side, our group also deals with technology. In particular, we have three branches of investigation, which is the communication technology, from the 4G to the 7G, just to put up some names, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence.
okay. Oh, nice. So much expertise, Diego. I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled to meet you. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's move on. I just wanted to know, moving on to the next question, in what areas is the Explan Group research based on? Like consciousness, getting the truth out to the people, or exploring different cultures around the world?
Okay. This second question ties into the first one, so it allows me to elaborate a little bit on the spiritual
Yeah,
side. In this world, as
absolutely.
you know, this modern era is marked by its a scientific slash rational mindset. Everywhere in the modern world,
Yes.
especially the Western world, we just put on emphasis on the rational, on the logical, on the scientific, everything that we can actually prove it exists. What we cannot prove, because either we lack of evidence or we lack of knowledge, then it doesn't exist. One example I was reading a few days ago, and that's linked to your civilization, to your culture. When we talk, for example, about the Mahabharata or the Ramayana, it's a
Maya. Yeah.
lifelong debate whether they were mythology or actual facts. Well, I maybe I'm a dreamer, but I tend to believe that such beautiful epics, such beautiful accounts and stories be more likely real than not. I cannot even begin to imagine how so many millennia ago someone would just concoct or make up all this story out of nothing. It's just impossible. It's as impossible and as illogical as we think we are the only beings in the universe. It's just the thought of it doesn't make any sense. And yet we have a large number of scientists who can still affirm that we are the only one, and that all the ancient epics, Gilgamesh, or the Enuma Elish, the Book of Thoth in Egypt, the Popol Vuh in South America, even the Tao Te Ching in China. They're all fantasies. I mean, this for me and my group, it's intolerable. So if you ask me, we study consciousness. Yes, we do. We study consciousness because we think that the key behind understanding our past and our civilization is in our perception of reality. How much reality
Absolutely.
we can actually take in and accept as part of our existence. So when we talk about science and as it is right now, and we talk about just plain evidence or just a plain math or numbers, we forget that the universe itself is composed primarily by sound. Sound is numbers, but it's also
Yes.
consciousness and emotions. So if we think about the very origin of the universe, sound, and we know the sound is both mathematic and emotion, right there we have the roots of real science. We cannot think that
Wow.
science is only numbers, only the left hemisphere of our brain. What about the rest? What about our ability to feel, our ability, our intuition, our creativity? That's what I believe is
Right.
a complete true science. So yes, we do work on consciousness, and we actually make it a very important step in all our research.
That's really enlightening. That's really enlightening. And Diego, how do you get the truth out to the people? Like, how do you make people realize in believe in what you believe in? Any views on that?
Absolutely. Our website, www.theexplain.net, has our motto on the homepage. We said, we don't ask you to believe, we ask you to think. So that
We
right
think.
away
We
answers your
think. Yeah.
question. We are not founded or established so for people to believe or have faith in us. By no means. We are just one of the many who in the world, like you, for example, are working for the truth, are working to let people
Yeah.
know that there is so much more than just we are led to believe. So we never ask people to believe in us. We just ask them to think with their own mind independently and unbiased by any of the mainstream or extreme sources of information. What we suggest to people is compare the sources. Listen to me, listen to Shuomo, listen to another program, then put the pieces together and see which information
Absolutely.
actually resonate to you. If it resonate right, then that's the right answer to you, to your life, because we are all different. We're all trading, we're all walking through a different pathway, or leading eventually to the unity in a philosophical way. But all of us, it's a universe in itself. So we deserve to know our subjective truth based on our personal experience and enhanced consciousness.
Wow. Enhanced consciousness. That was really interesting to know, folks. Seriously. Enhanced consciousness. Seriously. Very good, Diego. I mean, more and more you answering, more and more we are getting enlightened, and the folks here are also enjoying.
Thank you.
Diego, now moving on from the explain group's expertise to more of the situation that are actually, uh, you know, troubling us in the world right now. More realistic situations which we are actually facing right now. Something like the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. So, post pandemic, how do you see the growth of human civilization? And what major role will technology play in this? Your views on that?
This question is very difficult to answer in short time, but I will try to pinpoint the key areas in which we maybe
Yeah,
further down the road we can discuss. First of all,
yeah,
uh, please allow me to give you my personal take on this pandemic. Uh,
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of what's happening to the world this year, 2012, 2020, was uh, staged and planned way before, at least to the 2012 time or around that era when uh, people started to be brainwashed about the end of the world and all the Mayan prophecies and everything. That was that those years, if you remember, 2012 were characterized by an increasing media, mainstream or not, hint on the end of the world. There is a change or not change it. Like people were sort of led to believe that there was something happening. Then nothing happened, at least from a material point of view, from like the plain view. Nothing changed, the world didn't change, the economy didn't change, anything. So now 2012 and 2020, so we 8 years passed, and now we are in the middle of a huge shift. Now if you ask me, the shift was natural or caused, uh, I would say everything has a cause and effect. So I don't think that mankind alone would have been able to stop the war the way it did. So we are not even the most powerful
Yeah.
elite in the world would be able to do that. Maybe they contributed to it or they exploited the change, that's for sure. So it has to have something natural in it, I agree. uh, Most of the consequences of this event was made by ourselves. The way we react to the mainstream media and the government policies was basically fear. And you know, I felt compelled with my group to start a 9 episodes video on YouTube called Panphobia, which now reached episode 4, I believe, if I remember correctly. And the panphobia, which the word means fear of everything from the Greek language, to me is the key to understand this situation. Before I answer your question to the post pandemic, then I would like to elaborate a little bit about the present moment. We are not in a post pandemic situation. Right now, we are in a totally pandemic situation that was uh, created, that was planned, and it's been executed. So, whatever is that, it's a natural behind it. Now, all the governments are aligned one way or another for reasons that it's, as I said, complicated the state. They are aligned to keep people under deep fear. If you see how the
Yeah.
mainstream media are treating the news, and if you guys, everybody, try to look back what happened in the last 6 months. How many news were about cancer or poor people or violence or crime, except the U.S. with the black thing, with the black scandal and everything. Most of the countries
Yeah.
were entirely focused on coronavirus, as if the coronavirus had the power to cancel all the other disease or the other problems, everything else in the world. At some point, only the coronavirus existed in its full power everywhere. And of course, why this caused panic? Because we are talking about something that we cannot see, something invisible, something like that, so small, so little, that may very
Yeah.
well not exist. And this is one thing that I want to give you as a thought provoking concept. Again, my premise is you don't have to believe me. Just see if what I said resonates within you. Then you will understand if you think I'm being logical or not. But think about this: a virus, uh, biologically, it's an invisible component of a bacteria or a microorganism. The virus to develop needs a microorganism, something material to attach, feed off it, and then expand. It's exactly like the computer virus. Can you have a virus in a computer without a computer? Or can you have a virus in a computer without a software? Can the computer as a hardware get infected by a virus? No, it needs a host, and the host is the software. So that being said, virus is
Yes.
something that needs something material, something physical to come to the existence. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. And I'm telling you something more. The difference between organic matter and inorganic matter, like a thermos, like a computer, is that they have no emotional response to objective reality. They do not respond. They can only execute if an organic matter interact with it. But we, as a living organism, we react to the input from the outside. So what do you think, guys, is the most important reaction that we have, physical or emotional? Before we it's been proven by a lot of medical research that if you think or if you're afraid that you're going to injure yourself by doing something, most likely uh, uh, you're going to stumble, or you're going to fall, or you're going to hurt yourself because you were afraid of it. Now I make you another example, and then we go
Yes.
down to the pandemic. If I am told that in order to protect myself from the virus, I have to wear the mask, I have to wear the gloves, I have to keep washing my hands, I have to practice the social distancing, and I'm afraid that I'm going to contract the virus. Guys, I'm giving you a news. Even if you can protect yourself with a virus proof suit or any other PPE or everything, you're going to get infected, because the virus is primarily an emotional response to your perception, your reaction. If I'm not afraid to get the virus, I don't mind not wearing the mask outside if the air is clean, and if my health is right, I keep myself fit and healthy. I observe a good dietary program. I don't go to the extreme. I don't stretch my body with drugs or alcohol or extensive cigarette. In other words, I keep my body strong and my antibodies active. There is no way I can get ill. And if I'm not
That's
afraid, Shomo, if I'm
yeah.
not afraid of this virus, I will not get ill. So the my personal opinion, it's my personal opinion, okay, is that fear is what makes us weak in everything, and especially in the things that we cannot see and we cannot touch. So this virus thing could very well be another warfare program, because the armed conflict that we had in the past years are are past. They are no longer feasible because of the cost, because of the population reaction, because we need, if we want to create fear and conflict, something that we do not understand. And what can be more subtle and more dangerous than an invisible things that nobody seems to understand? Look at the experts' comments on this virus. One expert tell you one thing, another expert tell you totally the opposite thing, and both of them are MD, PhD, reputed scientists. The WHO in the first stage of the pandemic said, "Oh, you must wear the nitrile gloves," and India and China went on to produce so many gloves to supply the world with it. Actually, when China was in crisis, India was the only country that was able to provide this personal protection equipment to the world, as you are such a big nation with a lot of productive capability. And then the WHO went on to say, "Oh no, actually, sorry, I think the nitrile gloves are actually not only useless, but they're dangerous." And everybody stopped wearing gloves. Then the mask. They said the mask, absolutely, you need to wear the mask at any point. And now they're saying, but be careful, because if you wear mask in a hot temperature and the mask get wet, you actually can get disease from your own bacteria. So,
Oh,
Shomo,
that's
you tell me, in this situation of complete uncertainty, insecurity, only one feeling dominates, and it's fostered by the mainstream media: fear. Fear everywhere,
Fear.
fear of everything, fear even of your beloved one, of your neighbors. So this is the road we want to take as a human beings. We want to develop, and now I'm answering your question of the post pandemic. Are we going to live a life where it will dominate social distancing, and we will afraid to touch each other, we will afraid to show emotion to each other, we will try to get mask every single second of our lives because we're scared? No, this is
That's
not the
really
life we
sad.
want. This is the life that someone wants us to live, but we must be the masters of our destiny. We can change it, but we have to change,
Yeah.
first of all, the perception we have about life. In this world, so much scientific, so much materialistic, we are afraid to die. We consider death something to avoid. This is something that even only 400 years ago was unfathomable. Nobody would treat death like this. We are ready to do every and anything just to stretch our lives a few more years, no matter what, even if we have to spend all our lives wearing masks and gloves. That's not
Absolutely.
life. That's not life. So, to
Absolutely.
answer your question, the post pandemic can be two ways. If people awaken and they understand that all this situation is really too extreme, what they're going to do, they're going to look at new ways to be health, to respect our planet, to try to clean up the mess that we've been doing for the past 200 years with the pollution and the extremes and everything. And we just try to change the course of our lives in a sense that we will harmonize ourselves with the planet. Or the second scenario, we will give in. We will give in to this death oriented, fear driven society that someone is trying to build. We will accept the more artificial intelligence come and do our jobs. We will more and more isolate ourselves in our homes. We will stop going out because we're afraid, and we will give up all the responsibility to machines. This is the second scenario, and it's a scenario that really it's a nightmare.
That's really scary. I mean, people should be a bit more gutsy, People should at least stop having fear. And people should actually feel that if they keep themselves safe, they will definitely beat this pandemic. But yeah, they might take few precautions in the meantime,
Exactly.
but on the
I
long run,
But Shuomo, I'm sorry. By
yeah,
saying don't be afraid, it doesn't. I don't mean don't be reckless. Of course, you have to take precautions, but what I
yeah,
mean is that I was just giving an extreme scenario to differentiate the symptoms from the origins. If we are sick, okay, if we have a disease and we only cure the apparent symptoms, we are never going to eradicate the illness. If we go down to the roots and try to adjust the roots, the symptoms will disappear by themselves.
yeah,
And whoever knows the origins of traditional
yes,
medicine, I know you understand, and I know many of your users understands what I mean. India was one of the first countries to promote natural healing to combat this pandemic, and India was put down by the Western countries because the WHO said that what India was saying about the natural medicine, like tamarind or turmeric, I don't remember. There was a special herb that they said, Indian people can develop a strong
yeah,
antibodies. The WHO declared it illegal immediately. So it means that the real ones who are scared are those mainstream doctors who think that they can solve all the problems by injecting children with the vaccines, which is a nonsense because viruses, for whatever they are known for mutating every single year, every single season. They mutate into something different. So what are we going to do? Are we going to keep injecting our children for the next 20 years until the coronavirus will stand? This way, we're killing generations of future children. And that's our primary concern. We need to think about those who cannot protect themselves. We are adults. We can somehow survive. But what about our children?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Time to think, folks. Seriously, great insight. Yeah. So, Diego, uh, like we said, I mean, you spoke about the growth of human civilization post pandemic. Now, coming to technology, what major role will technology play in this post pandemic? Any views on that?
Technology will is making will make a great role. Uh, One of the threads that we are following in the investigating this matter, it's actually that, you know, historically, every time there was a major conflict in the world, technology jumped up about 30 to 40 years faster than in peacetime. After World War One, after
Oh,
World War Two,
yes.
any major conflict caused technology to really jump ahead of so fast. So that's the reason why, if we treat this pandemic as a conflict, as actually a lot of media in the world use the word war against coronavirus, war against, war. This word was used extensively, especially in the West. I'm not sure about the Middle East or India. China, no, didn't use it, but the Western countries used a lot this word, so that people was subconsciously prompted to believe that what we are living in right now is actually war. So, that being said, if we treat the pandemic as a conflict, and after the pandemic will be, uh, let's say, will be deemed over, it has to be deemed over. It's the same thing as a government making the assumption that a piece of paper is worth $1,000 or $1. It's the same thing. We have no ground to declare a virus dead. It's impossible for the very nature of viruses that everyone knows. In fact, if we think about from a biologically point of view, the pandemic will never stop. So it has to come to a stop by an agreement with the governments, either on the economical side or on the healthcare side. And in that case will be the spread of the medicines and vaccines and so forth, which is deeply linked to economy. So let's say the pandemic stops, and as I said before, technology helps in this case because keep people at home and yet allow them to do major work that they would have done in person. So without technology, probably we would have a more dire psychological impact in this situation. But because of technology, we're still, you see, we can hold conferences from me to you. I'm in Italy, you're in India. We can spread the word, we can share knowledge and opinions. Then I work with China. I cannot go with China, but I work with China every day using my apps. The same thing, I'm sure you and everybody else. As long as we have technology, we still live a reality similar to our physical reality, so that the impact of the shift, of the change in the physical world is not shockingly perceived. It will be a progression, as I'm sure there will be change. There will be many things that won't go back as they used to be. But because of technology, we are sort of
Yes.
um in a trance-like state, like in a dream state. We still think I have internet, I have the computer, I have my smartphone. Okay, I have to stay at home, but at least I can communicate with the world. Imagine if we didn't have technology, how strong and shocking would have been the impact of such an isolation policy the governments are enforcing on people. I mean, Italy was on lockdown for 2 months. India has been in lockdown for almost 5 months. That's amazing. To me,
Yes.
it's something that I cannot even imagine, and I'm so sorry for that. But I still think that your government is trying to do the best they can for your safety. That absolutely, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, technology is helping, because it make us feel less lonely, basically. As
Yes.
long as we are
Yes.
connected, we can still survive.
Yes. A lot of businesses actually uh, work from home. So in that way, technology has really contributed to some aspect of the economy staying alive and helping the economy. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think it's one of the reasons why economies are not collapsing because of the internet and remote communication. However, I still believe that real economy, it's so important that we cannot replace real economy entirely by a virtual economy. This is like a temporary patch up, just to to give governments time to regroup and understand what to do, and keep, especially keep people from going completely crazy. that that I think is government's concern right now. For what I can see, the state of people and the economy of the governments, it's of course I don't want to say it's more important than health, but let's put it this way: without technology, also the health system of psychology and the health status of people would have been a lot worse. Let's put it this way. You're right.
Yes.
Technology is helping.
Yeah. That's really, 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 really important. That, yeah. But yeah, so Diego, now that we know post-pandemic, what should happen, how people should treat this, let us. We also said that technology actually is playing a major role in making the economy stay alive. So, coming on to the next question, which is kind of a technology-driven question, is in the data-driven world, what role will 5G play, and what health hazards will we face due to this 5G? Your views?
5G technology is implemented primarily by Huawei in the modern times in China, but actually it was known as an evolution of the 5G, the 4G technology for quite some time. And in fact, as we speak, while we're trying to implement the 5G technology in some key areas, there are engineers already experimenting on 6G and 7G technology. So the 5G technology, I think, was created for one need, and the need is called Internet of Things. And what Internet of Things developed? When you connect machines one to another, and when you start to create automated systems in the industry or in the logistics or even in everyday's life, you produce a lot of data. These data
Yeah.
are basically information, uh, thousands of information every fraction of a second, which makes the volume even impossible to count. And once the machines are connected and they feed off of data, then we need to do something with this data. We need to, first of all, we need to be able to catch them. It's like if we have a river, and immediately first we used to fish with a spear, then because we had like two or three fishes, then the fishes become scores of fishes, so we developed net, and with the net we try to catch as many fish as possible. But then the fishes multiplies, they get differentiated in size. You have big fish as well as small fishes, and some of these fishes also not only swim downstream, but they learn in response to also swim upstream. So we have two different directions of fishes, and these fishes becomes billions. So that one net is not enough anymore. You need to develop something that not only grows in size, in extension, also in depth, and it moves. It needs to be a
Yeah.
dynamic system. So, in order to understand the big data developed by automated machine system And in order to be able to extract them and even making something out of it, we need to develop a communication system that is fast enough to catch at least some of the structured data, because the fishes going up and down are the 90% of the big data, unstructured data, data that are not put in any organizational scheme. Some of them are already structured, but most of them are not. So first of all, we need to have the tool which is fast enough to keep up with the speed at which the big data go from machine to machine. It's like if I send a thought to you and you send me a thought back at the speed of thinking, which is a lot more, a lot faster than light. In fact, what is in the universe the fastest package of matter that goes from one point to another is not light, but it's information. Information can travel probably 10 times faster than the light. So can we catch our thoughts? Not yet. Can we catch big data information machine to machine? Yet, yes, and it's already expensive and very complicated. This is just to give you on the user a perspective of how complicated our brain is. If we can barely now
Yep.
being able to catch big data machine to machine because we haven't developed an AI strong, so we just have a weak artificial intelligence, and still it's so expensive and difficult. That's why we had to develop the 4G was not enough anymore. We had to develop the 5G that works on the microwaves, short waves that are deployed
Yep.
in the different areas of the system at short distance in order for basically capture in a grid. Is like a net, the exactly the net that I told you. It's a net of microwaves that can catch packages of information, big data here and there. This is as far as we go. 5G technology is not at all a cutting edge of technology. This was highly advertised because we've never seen something like this before. But in fact, if you compare it with how the human brain works, it's quite primitive. That you have to use microwaves scattered around the area that constantly give a pulse of energy in order to catch packages of unstructured data, and then spend so much money and time trying to put them in an organized way. So it's a very early stage of understanding how to basically speak the language of the machine, but it's one way. As you, if you tell me about the dangers are mainly were created
Yeah.
by Russian propaganda when they, I remember if it was 2015 or something, they broadcast a series of videos without any source, saying that basically the 5G was fostering cancer and brain tumors and had a drastic, devastating effects on the human body. And then the US retaliated this year and last year by saying that actually the 5G technology, it's not dangerous for people, but it's dangerous for governments because it can be used by communist states such as China to spy into government sensitive information. So you can see here,
Yeah.
again, it's the same as the pandemic. Once you have something new that you don't fully understand, you go from one extreme to another. First, you make a propaganda on the human health so that the people will be afraid. Then, once people are not afraid anymore, because with the 5G technology, you can chat faster with your friends, so you don't care about brain tumor because you
Yes.
have another
Yes.
interest, which is to socialize. Then it has to shift the focus. The focus went on the government sensitive information that can be stolen. And it's so blatant that it's political if you think that Trump administration and Xi Jinping in China have been in a conflict for almost 2 years now. What I'm saying is there is some truth in that, but I also believe, again, me and my group, we are strong believers of the uh, human body as being above all risks and all dangers, the most perfect machine in the universe. We have our defects, but if we keep ourselves healthy and if we keep ourselves consciously, this is
Yes.
the secret. Is not our health, physical health. It's not like going to gym or become vegan, or don't eat junk food. That's just the appearance. The real strength, the real invincibility that we have, it's here and here in our heart and in our mind. The chakra, that your culture was a pioneer in understanding the human body, how the chakra can open up and harmonize our body. The Kundalini energy,
Absolutely.
that strong, powerful energy that pervades our body, it can be so
Mm.
difficult to harness, but it's one of the most powerful resources that we have. It's all from you. You are the ones who actually, not only you have excellent engineers in the modern era, but you have an heritage of in your past. They have so much knowledge about how the body works. I can compare in a knowledge. I think India and China are today the most ancient civilization with the biggest heritage, because the others in the world have been pretty much erased or destroyed, but you and China managed to keep a lot of this. So I think the world should just look at your heritage and as one of the most important resources, trying to stop this craziness that we have. And it's really craziness. So to conclude with your question, the 5G is dangerous, again, as much as we think it can harm us. Otherwise, I think our body has perfect capability to adjust and adapt to any circumstances, except of course if you put yourself in a dangerous position, like you are close contact with these huge microwaves, or you live under an antenna, but that's extreme. I'm talking about if you are in a normal environment. I don't think we have a deadly danger, as opposed to the advantages of the machine is there. Shlomo, we have to come
Yeah.
to the terms. Do we want machines to help our life? We have to accept also some consequences. We cannot
Yeah.
expect to have artificial intelligence or a war between humans and machines without a little bit of risks. It's impossible.
Yeah. Absolutely. When you have a bit of mechanical things with you, when you have robots with you, when you have artificial intelligence with you, there's bound to be an iota of risk, and you have to live with it. You're absolutely bang
Exactly.
on, Diego. Absolutely bang on. Yeah. So moving on from 5G with and the health hazards, moving on to a bit of the economy status of the world. I just want to mention for the next question, that is, you see, till 1971, the dollar was backed by gold. The dollar was backed by gold, and the new law got the dollar into a free flowing state, which led to the currency turning into a fiat currency. If we face an economic meltdown with the will, in the future, if we face the economic meltdown because of this, will the Federal Reserve attach gold back to the currency, which in turn will act as a reset button for the economy, and we can, come back, the economy revives. So your views on that?
No, I don't think it would do that, because there are at least two huge differences. If we think
Yeah.
historical of that time, the Nixon shocking policy in 1971 and the 2020, or this era. The first difference is that America today is not the America of the 70s. Uh,
Absolutely.
it's very different. So Nixon policy at that time, that was coming from the Bretton Woods system, that was coming from the end of a world war that left China, that left Europe and Eastern Asia, especially Japan, devastated by the war, is not today. Today, actually, we are witnessing an America which is fragmented into so many different conflicts. It's trying to manage their own consequences of the action of the past 2 decades, and still hasn't come to terms of how to resolve the internal situation, not to mention the international relations, which is completely a mess at the moment. But the second and maybe the most important
Yeah.
difference that we have now is there is a third element in the system. First, in the past, we had gold that was considered the element whereupon to back up all the US dollar and basically the currencies, the fiat money uh, against, okay, to make sure that basically each country who wanted to have US dollars could redeem it in gold controlled by the US. So eventually the US was able to control the world economy through the gold reserve. But now we have the cryptocurrency.
Yep.
The cryptocurrency are
Fiat currency.
the third element that can completely shuffle up all the economic system. You don't need to go back to gold. What you can actually, if your
Yeah.
bill or your banknotes, your fiat money has no value or has value, is not really a problem if you go directly into the virtual money. So now we have the three different stages: the gold backed up money, the free flowing money, and the virtual currency. The virtual currency, which is what, especially the Bitcoin, is the leading,
Yeah.
but after 10 years, there are other
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies developed, and the blockchain system makes the investing in this currency very appealing. And if you start to invest massively in cryptocurrency, slowly you cause the economy to shift into that way, because the economy is made not just especially
Yeah.
our economy is not made just on the real economy, like the power of labor, how much you work, how much you produce, and then you exchange the product that you make with gold or fiat money. Now the economy is completely entangled with finance, speculation, the creation of money out of nothing, just numbers. And that's why the cryptocurrency uh, is so appealing to investors. And how to make the cryptocurrency more appealing is through the system of the blockchain, that at the moment seems to be the perfect system, the anti-hacker system, which is not, by the way. It's impossible. I've also have doubt since when I started to read about the blockchain and its invulnerability through hacking and everything. It's true to the basic, like to the basic investor or to the simple user. It's right. Your information and your transactions are covered, but it's also an anonymous transaction, and the anonymous transaction can lead to a lot of black stuff.
Yeah. Guys, I think he's
Okay,
experiencing some Wi-Fi trouble. Oh, wait, he's back. Yeah.
okay, okay, I'm back. And so I
Yeah.
know that you have been talking about this extensively, and you know that gold, between the three, I still believe that gold is the safest haven that we have. And if you think about it
Oh,
again, it's not a conspiracy, it's logical. The governments more and more are trying to detach us from gold. They're trying to
yeah.
keep us away from the gold reserves and go into something less touchable, less concrete, more and more virtual. This only means to me that gold is still the most important and most valuable element to governments. Otherwise, they would never try to keep us away from it. It's only because probably there is a shortage, or probably because uh, respecting like the 70s or even the 45
Yeah.
when the Bretton Woods was started. Well, I mean, it was implemented in the 53 or 55, but it was created in the 45. At that time, the population was different, was less. After two world war, was less. Now we
Yeah.
are really a lot, and not only that, but we are all of them. All of us are capable of making transaction, able to access the gold reserves. Like before, it was not that possible. So I still think that the correct measure against a recession is to back up with something concrete, something solid, not to go on a virtual currency. If there is an economic meltdown, however, I don't think the governments will do that. And I would think that rather let the economies completely crash. And the example is 2020. I mean, really, there
Yes.
was no
Absolutely.
reason
Yeah.
to freeze the world, in my opinion. No reason. So the government led the economy to crash, and there must be a reason for it. I'm not, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not part of the government, so uh, I'm not in to so many information. But I just try to use my logic. If the governments of the world in 2020, after so many years of so-called scientific perception that everyone in the academic world has been boasted, we let the world freeze for just a virus that hasn't caused any more deaths than the usual death toll in the world caused by influences or in the
Absolutely.
past. I mean, we still are basically under control. There's nothing such a apocalyptic, catastrophic view. No, that's just a fictitious scenario. But because we're afraid,
Yep.
we are believing the fictitious scenario. And then you know what? We are creating that scenario. Because if the whole world believes in a lie, that lie becomes the truth. And that's how tricky and
Absolutely.
challenging our world is. But if we go back to the beginning of this pandemic and we see how it unfolded, we know that in a very short time, all the economies of the world were shattered and the governments were ready for doing it. Nobody fought against it. Nobody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is, folks. It is an insight that it's time, perhaps, Diego. It's time people should get this inside their head that one should invest more in gold gradually. More of his portfolio should be in gold rather than the virtual currency. Your views on that? I guess so. It is. Is it?
I believe so. I think if you guys have the possibility to access gold or other valuables like concrete valuables, do that.
Yeah, yeah. Even I believe so. Yeah, absolutely. So, Diego, coming on to our very last question of this wonderful interview that we are having. Again, coming back, from the technology to the 5Gs to the economy to the gold and dollar, coming back to Corona once again. Will Corona play a major turning point in human civilization? And if so, or if not, whatever, in what way?
Okay, I like this question because it gives me the the head start actually to finish this wonderful conversation with you in a positive way with a positive message. We've been talking about the uh, dire consequences, the negative consequences that this pandemic has brought to the world. But in fact, for anything, for the law of the balance, the universal law of balance, wherever there is something bad, there must be always something good. Our universe never work in the negative. Our universe always work in the positive, in a constructive way. Even if we think there is a chaos, but
Yep.
from chaos comes order, and the chaos is just what we do not understand. So uh, even if we are living in a chaotic world these months, I think we should always be positive that this moment can be a moment for us to look deep inside ourselves, to look at the world as it was up until now, to see what mistakes have been done and how we can improve our lives, how can improve our relationships. First of all, primarily with ourselves, because I always remind myself, if I don't accept me, if I don't believe in myself, how can I believe in others? How can others believe in me if they don't sense the confidence and the willing to sacrifice everything just for the truth? And that's why we never force people to believe in us. I just want them
Yeah,
to see, to feel how much sacrifice we are ready to make in order to shed light in the darkness. I'm a light bearer. I know that whatever I say, whatever I think, eventually I always finish with a positive message, because that's what the universe taught me in all my life. And I've never failed to regret that. There is no solution in darkness, but just finding the little light that would illuminate your path. And there is always light, even in the darkest hour, there is a light. And the primary light is yourself. Don't look for lights outside of yourself when you have it already inside. You are the light, not only for you, but also for the others. If you take up on this quest and you understand yourself, then you will see that this pandemic is really just a challenging little speck of moment. It's just a temporary. It's a really a crumble or a teardrop in the ocean, and the ocean is much more than this. Once we understand how irrelevant is our condition, in this case of fear, you will see that everything will change perspective. If we can do this, so many of us have the same thought, the same drive, all the situation will, I am so sure, will disappear immediately. Unfortunately, we do not have but it's not entirely our fault. Most of us need a leadership, and if our leaders are not able to give us some good principles about lights and everything, I understand how many of us feel lonely, isolated, astray, and we don't know what to do. So what Shomo is doing with his stealing from the future, I think it's one of the most remarkable quests and missions that he has, trying to wake people. And I can only, me and my group can only be honored and really grateful for this, because we learn from each other. We have the possibility, thanks to him and to his staff, we have the
thank you.
possibility to exchange this information and this view. I have so much more. I would like to tell you about one investigation that we're making in Italy about a place that has any sort of phenomena from interdimensional beings to creatures that nobody has ever seen. We have some outstanding pictures and some stories about the area that we call the Valmolenko phenomena, that if in the future, Shomo, we can have another opportunity, I'm going to show you some pretty
Absolutely.
mind-boggling images that we can comment on that.
Abs-
That's the Explain group.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Diego. I'm so enlightened. Even folks here, I can believe, I can trust. The folks here have been absolutely enlightened with your views, Diego. Uh, Diego, it was an awesome interview. I mean, folks, you heard the last answer he gave. One must not let Corona have a turning point on your life. It's how you interpret yourself on the darkest of times, because the light is you, your confidence, your thinking, your taking precautions also, but being brave that you can overcome this will give you the strength to move on in life. And I am very much sure that we all together can believe so. And Diego over here has given his very valuable views on everything. His group, the research he does, the Xplan group. You can research about the Xplan group on the website. Just type the www.xplangroup.net. You will get to his website and you can search all about what he does, what his group does. It's amazing. We already spoke about what they do. We already heard about their views on the pandemic, on the technology post the pandemic, on the economy, what can happen in the future if the dollar goes down, and what can happen, and also about Corona. What effect it can have on our lives and how can we can overcome it. It was so folks, and visit my channel. My channel is getting launched today. There will be a lot of videos that will be coming, and Diego, we would love to come and have another interview again in the future, now that we are on board. Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Diego. We'll meet again. Thank you. Good night. Adios.